All right, we are live with Chris. I don't know how to pronounce this last name, but let me give it a shot because I love last names. Terrelonge.
Oh, very good.
Terrelonge.
Very good.
It's a silent E at the end?
Yeah, it depends. It is French.
How do you say it?
Terrelonge.
Oh, awesome. And Chris, you're a fun guy to chat. You're always full of energy, and I have this memory of you with this T-shirt that we can talk about in a second. But just meeting you has been like exciting for us because you bring the fire when you talk with people. I don't know if you always get that, but you bring a lot of energy. So we can take this discussion wherever you want to take it. We just saw Chris last night. We had this little Rockstar event last night, and a gentleman by the name of Greg Foss was there, and we were just commenting on another person with a whole bunch of energy. And this guy, Greg Foss, I'm sure many of you listening to this know him. He was in person in front of a bunch of Rockstar members, and he was going on and on about credit default swap insurance, and we were looking at the websites live, and he just gets all of us, I think, kind of pumped up about things that you never thought you would get pumped up about. Like, I never thought I'd be jumping up and down and saying, look, Canada has a AAA rating on its CDS, on its credit, and it shouldn't. Look at the rate that the market is pricing this stuff, and it's all because of Greg Foss. So we were just, before we started recording, we were just commenting on all that stuff. But I think it's so important for all of us to know this stuff. So I'm glad that you were there, Chris, listening to all of this madness unfold. And we're very grateful that Greg shares that kind of information. So what brings you to this point? Why are you sitting here? How did you get to this place today?
I think I got an email, and you threatened to cancel my membership if I didn't come in. No, I'm just joking. But the reality is I'm one of those people that have benefit from real estate and other adventures, but we'll start with the real estate specifically. And the reason why I've come in is to kind of share my story and just have an open conversation, because I think sometimes people think they have to be either at a certain level financially, or you have to come from a certain creed. And the reality is anyone can do this. But the key thing about not only doing it is once you decide to make adjustments in your life, what will happen is opportunities will actually open itself. So, whether it's me telling my story or some of the people in the past who have been here and told their story, that's what motivates me. So if I have to come full circle and do the same thing, and I have to share my story, because even if it just changes one person's perspective, or it's enough to say, hey, if that guy can do it, then I have no problem being able to do it myself.
Yeah, awesome. Especially with all of us right here in the greater Toronto area and Golden Horseshoe. Like, I know before I got into this stuff, if I had heard somebody right in our own backyard doing this, it would have given me confidence. So walk us through it. Why did you get into real estate? How did you get started in this whole real estate adventure?
I'm going to say, honestly, just became an accidental landlord. This would have been the early 2000s. So 2008, we wanted to upgrade into a bigger home. So we're in a townhouse at the time. So it was actually quite funny because when, I looked at a couple houses with the wife, and then the one we selected, I was working 2 jobs at the time, so I barely had enough time to even get out there. So, we found a house, everything was good. And then I got the call from the inspector that the roots of the tree were pushing against the house. So they said within 5 years, that'll be coming in. So it's one of those, I can't take any more time off. We have our goals of things that we're trying to accomplish. So I guess, just moving right forward, what ended up happening was not only were we in this house, my wife's sister had come because her plan was to take over that property. So now there's 2 families living in one townhouse. So it's literally, Shas, you just find the house, I sign off on it, right?
So did you buy that house with the roots that were pushing against the wall?
Nope. So I told her to find a new one. She found a house and said, this house is perfect. When do you want to see it? I don't. If you love it, happy wife, happy life. And literally, that's how we got our second home.
What part of the city? Where
this is in Brampton.
Okay,
so we moved from the middle of Brampton, so Queen and Kennedy, which is near the 410. But we moved from a townhouse into a detached, which is in Bramalea, which is the older part of Brampton, and that gives you more land. So we're in the M section.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, yes.
Cool. Okay, so accidental landlords because your sister-in-law, you said.
Yes.
Sister-in-law is living with you. Okay, keep going with the story.
Yes,
now. Where does it go?
So now from there, she ended up going into that place, and the goal was for her to acquire that home. And then, at the time we just said, okay, whatever the expenses are, you just pay the expenses, and then you just take over the house whenever you're ready. So it was pretty easy, obviously because I was dealing with family, but honestly, usually sometimes there can be challenges, but it was nothing that we were never able to work out. But always paid on time. So that was
So you guys then bought another house,
yeah.
and then you rented out that house that you were in, or did she stay in the townhouse?
She stayed in the townhouse.
She stayed in the
Yeah.
townhouse. Got it. And that's how you became, quote unquote, the accidental landlord.
Yes. So, at first, as I should have mentioned earlier, when I wanted to sell the house, someone says, sell your house and then go find another property or live with your parents or something, then find your dream home. My agent, who was actually my friend, he actually just said, you know what? He goes, I'm telling you guys right now, if one of you can carry the mortgage, don't sell this property. And I was like, fear always makes you want to change your mind. And I just said, I'm not going to let fear stop me. So, I kept the house under my name, and then my wife put our matrimonial home now in her
cool.
name. And it was probably the best thing.
What
that
year
ever
was that
happened to me.
approximately?
This would have been 2008 is when we bought our second property.
Wow. And do you still have both of those today?
Yeah.
So that's been hugely beneficial to you.
Yes, huge.
It's funny because so many of us use old rules for today's world, so that if it was somebody older than you hearing that, they would say, oh, don't take on too much risk. You're carrying too much debt. And then most people do not understand that in an inflationary environment, you want debt. Like, it's such backwards thinking. Like, debt, we've always been trained, debt is bad. But when the world is solving its debt problems with more debt, you actually want good debt, because it looks smaller relative to the way asset prices get inflated. I'll never forget when Nick and I figured that out. We were like, oh my gosh, these bankers are going to solve the world's debt problems with more debt. So we should probably get as much debt as we want. Like, it was this, now to us, it seems so obvious. Right. But at the time it was like, oh my God, these assholes, they're going to solve this debt problem with more debt. Everybody's screwed. Let's buy some assets quick. It was like, it was just like it felt like we just uncovered this big dark secret, but it's right there in the open if you look. Correct. So good for you to jump into that. That is scary, and that was a great friend who gave you that advice.
Exactly. That was a pure pay it forward, because he was a former employee of mine, and while he was at work, being the supervisor, I would just help him because he was working on his education to get into accounting, and then from there got into real estate, became an agent. So, he's an agent. He had an opportunity for us because we said we wanted to sell. He could have easily jumped on it.
Sure.
But he was just paying it forward because I always looked after him as his supervisor.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was that in the industry? Was that in the automotive industry that you're still in now? Is it a different industry?
No, I'm a food guy. So I came from the Loblaws Group, was the first venture I guess I was in. And so I used to work for the Loblaws Group, and there was a couple people. I know Cherry Chan used to work for them.
Oh my God, that's right. I totally forgot that.
Yeah, see, because I pick up when I hear, right?
Yeah.
But, when Weston passed it on to Junior, that was fine. But at that point, because he had to make changes for the business to move forward, I totally understood. But what ended up happening was, because there was movements and a lot of management changes, I was like, I don't want to reprove myself to all these people again, because pretty much all the work I've done almost becomes null and void in my opinion.
Oh,
so I took the opportunity to cash out, and then that's what was part of the money that I used to purchase our second home.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and then where does the story go from here? You're working in the corporate world. Do you dive into more real estate? When does that happen? Take us forward.
All right. Okay. So I guess 2008 would have put me in where I was after I left Loblaws. I managed a pharmaceutical building. So that was a lot of fun because people are in the pharmaceutical industry, and there's a lot of people in it. They make a lot of money, but they're very, very
you can say it.
Cheap. I guess they never want to break the rules because obviously they're held to that standard, but they always teach how do we bend the rules as much as possible. So, we got into a few heated conversations because we knew the employees were being underpaid. But to my success with the other operations manager, he did the production part, I did the shipping. What would happen was between the two of us, we were able to get the employees a raise. So that was my goal, just get them more money.
So what was your role there? You were managing?
Operations manager, so I managed the facility.
Okay, got it. And they were producing pharmaceuticals there?
So the pharmaceuticals that we used to store, so it was 3PL. So we would store the pharmaceuticals and then ship to their clients.
Got it.
So all the pharmacies.
Okay, so you're back into the corporate life now. What happens next?
So from there, it was
Nick has joined us, by the way, Chris. Don't
okay.
be scared. Nick just showed up. Showed up out of the blue. He snuck in.
We were having office technical difficulties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that had to be addressed.
Nick snuck in. Yeah.
I think he's gonna be. He'll be here to more or less regulate us.
Yeah.
By all means. So I guess and thank you for coming, Nick. I do
Oh God, you're gonna
it.
thank me. We appreciate you coming in.
This is.
Did you start the podcast by telling everyone that Chris is just a happy guy and it's always smiling?
It brings
and
a lot of energy.
Yeah.
We started saying by
Just
last night,
lightens-
Greg Frost brought a lot of energy, and now Chris is continuing the energy forward. It's a lot of energy happening here at Rockstar.
I can't. I don't see you. I can't help but smile all the time because you walk towards me all the time with a big smile.
Big
I'm like, this guy's
smile,
the
chuckling
best.
and laughing, and things are good. Yeah. I think with Chris, even if things maybe aren't good, you're not really going to pick it up because he's going to see the bright side and stuff. But yeah, so keep walking us forward. You're at the pharma place, and then what happens?
So just to hit a point, it was probably one of two times where I hit a point where I was like, I'm just not happy. I'm working so much. I was a very strong supervisor, so I know how to, just get shit done, if you will. And, once it became they promoted me, but with the promotion, you have to find a replacement. Unfortunately, I was doing the work of 2 or 3 people. So there was not 1 or even 2 people that could replace how I was just getting it done. So at that point, I would come home, shovel food into my mouth, and I'd have to go back in there to try to help them get the work completed.
Shit.
And literally, Michaela, who's my eldest, she was like probably 2008. She would have been 5. And sit down, you're eating. And, I was just about to take a bite. Phone rings. We need you. Like, things are falling apart. And she looked at me and said, Daddy, please don't go. And that was the one and only time where I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go. It never happened after that because I said I need to make a change immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, because I knew I had to leave, but I had to break her heart. And I said, this will never happen again. So, I said at this point now I have to find a way to find something new to do. And
What year are we now? What year is that
this
about?
This would have been 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're living in Brampton, and where's the office that you're driving to, or the facility you're driving to?
I was fortunate where I've always had this role where I always work close to home. So it was actually in Brampton.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yes.
At least you had that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so from there, I said, I have to find something else to do. And, my wife, she's in the automotive industry too, specifically tires. Her boss and I built, had a relationship. So we started, just talking in general. And he's like, why don't you just come over here and do sales? And I go, yeah, sales is pretty interesting, but, it's tires, right? And so he literally was just like, they're black and round. I don't know what else there is to tell you. Right. And he goes, I'm just telling you right now, you know more about tires than a lot of people, even in the industry. Right. And the reality is, as you're in the industry, it's pretty straightforward. Right. There's a lot of different tech and such, but they're pretty much black and round and they just do different things. So from there, once I decided, I spoke to him and I thought it was a joke. So he's like, no, literally, why are you not coming? You need to make a change. This is where you need to be.
Someone else entered your life that gave you some guidance.
Yeah, this happened a few times. So shout out to Martin. His name's Martin. So I have to definitely give him a shout out because he was very level-headed and it was easy to talk to him as a friend outside of work.
But it was sales, so was there a base salary change, like drop, and then the difference was made up in commission or something like that from what you were used to?
Yeah, it was definitely a commission base, but they did make an exception because I said if I come over, there's a certain amount I need to have, so they allowed my base salary.
Got it.
Less on commercial.
Oh, so they were really valuing you to come over.
Yeah,
then.
so he just said, I just need someone who takes care of people. He goes, if you take care of people, then you will be successful. And that, like, to this day, that's why I followed that mantra, right? Doing the right thing just because it's the right thing to do.
Okay, so you get now you're in the automobile. So you went from Loblaws. And what was your role? What were you doing?
So,
was that a finance role? No, what was that role?
Oh, it's pretty interesting. So I started in retail.
Okay.
So working at store level. And Mavis and Eglinton used to be the Loblaws. I opened that store, but now it's a No Frills. And then I went into distribution because I wanted to know which path do I want to stay in retail or do I want to stay in operations and distribution.
Oh, got it.
So I worked both.
Okay, and then from there you went into this pharmaceutical role with this pharma company, and then you make it into automotive.
Correct.
Okay, so you're covering all the bases. So now you're in automotive, and now take us forward. What happens next?
So that, long story short, the business, an American company came, and they said they were buying the biggest distribution, which happened to be our company.
Oh, shit.
So what they decided to do was to buy us to enter Canada. And then now they have true coast-to-coast coverage. And then all the other smaller outfits started getting a little bit nervous because now Americans are coming, so they just made them a little bit nervous. So the two biggest in Canada, it was us, and then another company merged as one. And then they started buying some of the smaller wholesale businesses.
Oh, got it. So the American company didn't come in to buy you guys. They bought somebody else, and this is how you guys were protecting yourselves.
No. They bought us as the biggest. We were the biggest in Canada.
Got it. I
so
apologize.
Once they bought us, everyone else knew it's either join or or be run out of business.
Oh, so then this American company bought you guys and started gobbling up others as well.
Yeah, they bought the two biggest, so us, and then they bought the one that's similar business. Yeah. And so now we have strong connections with the most tires and the most sales, and then we merged with a corporately structured business because they were very strong on the car dealership channel.
Got it.
Yeah, so from there, they just bought some smaller businesses to access certain parts of the market.
It's funny what big money does, right? You see a market like Canada. For them, I don't know the size of the company, but they're like, okay, we want to enter Canada. Canada's not that big. Well, it's not that big of a market. If you're big in the U.S., and I don't know how big they were, but if you're not big in the U.S., you look at Canada. It's like a big state out of the 50 states, like a big state. So they're like, well, just add Canada to the mix. How do we get in? We'll just buy one of the big competitors. Smaller shops in Canada get nervous. Yeah, it's like the classic story that just keeps happening over and over.
And it is funny because a lot of them don't realize that we're actually a country or part of North America because in their meetings, they'll always say, in North America and Canada, they constantly say that. And sometimes people correct them, right? So it's just, but in Canada.
Same thing used to happen when I was in software. I swear, same thing. We're like, hey, listen, you're going to need your passport when you come up here. Okay. And they're like, really? We need our passport? Back in the day, you could just cross with a driver's license on land borders. I think on flights too.
You passed them with your driver's license one when you didn't need to. They let you in.
After 9/11, when they went to passports, right. I forgot one time, and Nick and I were close to a flight, and we got to the border, and I sweet talked my way over the border with a driver's license. I was like, please, we're gonna miss our flight. And we got through. I still don't know.
Like, oh, Tom forgot something again.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. And we were literally driving, I think, right up to the booth, right. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have my passport. So anyway, okay, got it. So then now you're still, but you're still in automotive.
Yep. I'm still in automotives.
Okay. So walk us through that adventure.
So being in sales, you would have territories, right? So generally I would do like GTA. So I do GTA, and then, I've been as north as far as like Huntsville, let's say. And then you would have to coverage. But because all these businesses are merging, someone who's been in the business a long time, and then either they're letting people go or bringing in new people, I have to constantly keep helping. So your cash or your book of customers would go from like 300, 1,100, and then come down to 800. It kept flexing. And then, if you have relationships with certain customers that nobody else knows, okay, now that's your customer, even if it's out of your territory.
Oh, geez.
So, which is fine because as a company guy, you always want to help because you're a team player, right? But then it starts to become overwhelming. So what ends up happening is in the business, and I just want to make sure to share because maybe not a lot of people might not know, is I was in the business, and I think my wife was in the U.S. because she was working on a assignment. She was part of a team that was helping to implement a new system. So it was just me and the kids on this side, and everything was going well. But what happens in the July, August, September, that's the big tire selling season because winter tires. So all the dealers, there's a big push, not only from us, but everyone in the business to try to get pre-sales of tires. So, you'd be out there, you're trying to, get sales, keep customers happy, and you're just becoming overwhelmed. So this is every year, it's at the same period of time. So, I started becoming overwhelming, and I was just driving. I was leaving one customer's going to another, and all of a sudden I started feeling chest pain.
Oh, shit.
So when I felt the chest pain, I'm like, what is this? Right? Like, because it just caught me off guard. So now my mind, I believe, started playing tricks on me because my wife's in the U.S. My eldest was, she would have been, 2014, she would have probably been like 11, 12. And then, I have two other young ones. Now they're at the babysitter, and then they come home after. So now they're going to be home. It's going to be like 6:30. Dad's still not home. They'll start to panic, and then they'll call my wife's sister, who's the backup. And then now she's going to be concerned. So literally, I think my body just started shutting down. So I literally just called 911 because I was scared. Called 911, ended up in the hospital. And then, my direct report, he came to the hospital, and then my wife flew from the U.S. like on the next flight. It was like, got here right away.
You were at the side of the road when you called?
I pulled into a parking lot, yes. And very, very terrified. I honestly didn't think I was going to make it. And then,
what sensations were you feeling? Tightness or throbbing? What was it?
Yeah, it was definitely throbbing. Never felt it before. And it literally, I thought I was having a heart attack. I think it's anxiety.
Got it.
I think it was, they called it. And from what I'm told, and even some of the research I did and talking with people, is everybody has it. It's just some people, it just
express it in different ways.
Yeah, and it was just probably broke out on me. So it finally hit that point where it was more than I could handle. And because of my outside life, that's when it just came colliding. And I said I needed to make a change. Yeah, so that change from there is, I said, look, I don't want to quit. I'm still performing, but I have to find something else to do. So what ended up happening is I went from outside sales to a more inside and support role. And once I made that change, I was it became very, very happy doing that as well, because I still got to talk to customers, still got to work with the operations team, and still was providing for the company. But, I'm still thinking company. So, once I was inside, unfortunately I had to drive to Burlington from Brampton every day, and it was very challenging, especially the traffic just becomes too much. So what I did at that point, I've obviously been coming to meetings and, when you're talking with people, I said, what am I doing? I have options. Mm-hmm. So
what meetings? Sorry.
Coming to, whether it's the VIP meetings.
Oh, to some of the Rockstar stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, so you around about that time, that's when you became a Rockstar member?
I would have been
You would think we would do this research and know this stuff
I know,
in advance?
Right?
Okay. But anyway, it sounds like right around that time somewhere. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then, what were you picking up from these meetings? That you were just hearing other people talk about their lives?
The exact same reason why I'm here. I'm just hearing people talk about their lives, their story. And I'm like, I am no different than anybody who's been on this podcast. But the one thing that was different prior was I made the choice. I'm hearing that a lot. We heard it yesterday a lot.
Mm-hmm, we did, right?
And yeah. And it's all about choice. And once you just choose, you're always going to have options. A lot of us who decide not to make changes in our life, what will happen is when you make a choice, even if the choice isn't working out, we're all usually in a position where you'll be okay. It's not like we can't go back into the corporate world if you choose. We're all got to a succession point for some reason, and a lot of it is just because who you are. So if you leave, it's not like you can't re-enter. Yeah. Sometimes even into a better position than you were prior.
Yeah, we always seem to make decisions thinking they're definitive. Like, I'm going to make this thing. I can't turn around. It's over. I'm screwed if this new step doesn't work out. And you can always kind of just go back. I don't know why that's such a challenge for humans to accept.
Some people maybe it's an
ego thing too, though. It could be like you feel like you're a failure maybe if you don't succeed in your next step.
Yeah, but some people's just personality types are not to make decisions quickly and move quickly from one thing to another. They want the stability. They like the stability. So when they make the decision, they want it. They can still turn back. To your point, you're right. but they're just not wired the same way. So,
How do
because
we
they
get
don't
people-
understand how someone like you can be like, well, I just stopped doing that. I did this today because I'm done doing that. I decided I loved bulletproof coffee for 2.5 years until it almost killed my adrenals. And now today I stopped, so just people are wired different ways, but you're right. To your point, there's always choice. And I thought the thing is there isn't always choice in some places around the world. And I think we're fortunate that
we have
we have it, and we should take advantage of it a little bit more around here, right?
I just feel that there's a lot of people who are like just even going back to last night, there's a lot of people who are like 80% there, but then it's difficult for them in an investment, whether it's deciding to buy a piece of property or to change a partnership, or to change a career. They're 80% there in their decision. You can tell when they're speaking that they know what they want to do, but that last 20% doesn't seem to be able to be bridged until there's this big life moment. And it's like that last 20%, maybe it's because in Canada we have so many options that to bridge from the 80% to the 100%, it's sometimes you need life to smack you upside of the head. The way I personally did it was I extrapolated out my life going forward, and then said the pain of what I saw 20 years in front of me was just too great, So
that was
anyway.
huge.
So when you're going to these meetings and listening, so what happens next, Chris? What do you do next?
So once I'm in the meetings and I'm in a position, it's like the holdup is actually me. I was the holdup for the next move, right? I know I'm very confident that no matter what, I'll be able to always provide for my family. And just like when I talk to people and say, I don't care if I lose my job right now. If I need to, I'll go scrub toilets to put food on the table. Because I just have that attitude. That's, I think, has always made me successful because I always give my all. So I said, I have to make some adjustments to change my life, literally like, my life, my terms. And, just hearing that, one day I just woke up and I was like, yeah, this is my life. It's my terms. So literally just did a check-in with the boss. I said, talk to the wife, and then just said,
so almost your turn.
Yeah. Her terms, my life. But that being said, I just ran by her and just said, I'm thinking I want to do some more stuff with properties and such. And she said, that's fine. She goes, just make sure nothing happens to this house. So basically now I have to become creative, right? So I used my, I'm not going to say, my new connections, but at first, as I tried to move forward, what ended up happening was I was told banks were saying no. Then you would call different brokers and they kept saying no. So, whether it's the YouTube or you're talking to people, I'm like, I keep hearing no. And I go, there's got to be a way, because every time I go to a meeting or I talk to someone, they find a way. So I'll use one of their people. I talk to them, they're no. And then I heard something on YouTube, and forgive me for not knowing the name. But the point is, because it's not relevant who it was. They said, it's not no, it's just not yet. Right. So instead of, like I say, instead of thinking, why does this keep happening to me? Think of it as, what is this teaching me? So I use that. That's like part of my daily mantra when something doesn't go right. So I just said, I just haven't ran into the right person. I was at a VIP meeting. It was the first one. It was definitely in January. It would have been 2019, just before. It would have been 2019. So it was January. I was just sitting down, and I was sitting beside another VIP member. And then right behind me was his friend. So they kept talking back and forth. And then, you just look back and do the wave. So, he said his story. I shared my story as a new member. And I said, oh, I see you do, sometimes you'll do meetings. I go, I'd love to come and just, engage with the people that you're working with, right? And he said, yeah, no problem. And that was the person that helped me get into my next deal.
Awesome.
Yes. So
awesome.
Shout out to you, Sean.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. One love, because I was told no a lot. And he's like, I think I can help you.
Cool.
And
So that was, and then what did you do? That was buying a new rental What was that?
That's when we got that would have been in Welland.
Got it.
So first St. Catharines, when I came, I'm not going to say it was too late, because you're never actually too late. I was just priced out at the current time. So my funds, I had to go either further. So either Thorold, Welland. I didn't want to go into Niagara because it just seemed a little bit too far. So I ended up in Welland. And
was that a straight rental property?
I was going to do, I wanted to do a burr. I was going to turn it into a duplex.
I got it.
But the one advantage that I have, because I'm almost 6'4", is when I walk in, as soon as I go into a basement, I can tell, right, if it's close to my
height requirements.
Yeah, so that's, I don't need no tape measure or anything, right? So that's exactly what I do. I just, any tour I'm on, as soon as I walk in, I know right off the hop if we're good. So it was, obviously turning into a duplex would have been the most optimal. But instead, we just turned it into a single family, and it's cash flowing. So I think I want to say it went from 200, and then now we are cash flowing. It's 702 or something like that. It's over $700.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah,
and it's the cash flow changed because I guess you had a tenant move out, and you put a new tenant in, and rents have changed.
Well, I used a line to for the renovations. So what happened was, since I used a line, the private mortgage was really high. So I did it for the barrier of entry, and then cashed out. I don't even think it was 11 months. So it was like 11 months. I heard it.
And that changed your cash flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
but we were still cash flowing at first. Most people will get scared because obviously I ended up carrying it for 3 months because it wasn't ready in time. But it was okay.
And you did that with private money.
Yes, that was with
that. Yeah, so
money.
you basically faced some big challenges. Most people wouldn't even dare do that with private money.
Right.
What was the interest rate on that private money when you were using it?
It was pretty good. I think it was only like 9%.
Wow.
10%.
Yeah, you are pretty fearless. Most people are going to hear 9% and basically shit themselves. Yeah. You're having 9%. Yeah. You're just saying it's no big deal.
Because you had the plan, and you've said it a couple of times, and I remember when you say you have the board. So you just grab a board, whether you're drawing pictures or whatever the life is. If you have a plan, you say this is a result, and just work it backwards. If you work it backwards and it doesn't work, it's not going to work. No, like sometimes you have to pass.
So you were okay with the 9% because you knew you were going to try to get some equity out of this property at some point,
Correct.
Change the financing on it, and that would increase the cash flow. But the private money got you into the market.
Correct.
So you were happy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then did it stop there? Did you keep going? Where are you at now?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the story.
I don't even know. So just fill us in.
So I have that property. I do have a condo. It's in Bowmanville, and then obviously because of because of COVID, it hasn't finished being built. But a lot of people will panic, just like, oh, what's going on with the market? All that stuff honestly doesn't bother me at all, because I know the delays are actually just benefiting me in my personal opinion. But the one thing I can say, it was funny because I knew this was. So I don't know if what the force is or whatever, godsend or whatever you want to call it. The reality is this: I went and I remember I signed. It was it was supposed to be 320. I went to sign and then it said 315. But I believe in karma, so I said, I think this is supposed to be like 319, right? Because that's what they told me. And she goes, well, I guess you just made $5,000. You better sign before I change it. And it was just literally, I made sure to fess up because I didn't want the bad karma. But yeah, we signed it, and then high five my wife and say, "You just made $5,000
on the spot."
Yeah. Yeah. So that one should be doing well. I'm going to be checking up on that. So
and that'll be another rental, or do you plan to sell that one?
Most likely, the original plan is to flip it.
Okay.
But I'm prepared to put a mortgage on it if I need to.
Okay, got it.
But I personally don't think I have to.
And how's your wife handling these moves?
As long as I don't bug her about them. Our home, she's like, do whatever you want, and then let her know whenever there's a problem. So I just said, anytime there's a problem, and she's like, no, only when there's a big problem, because I'd have to call her
regularly.
Yeah, very
it's
regular.
Real estate. Yeah, calling her all the time. So
when did you start investing though? So because I know this was the Welland one, but at what point? I feel like we missed. Why did you get into investing in the first place? Because I know you were going through the transition. You had the anxiety. You had the internal job. You were coming to meetings, realizing that you could, it could be your life on your terms. And then you were talking about this property in Welland, but it sounds like you already had another property in St. Catharines first. Is that what happened or no?
No, I did skip some stuff, but
Okay. We can leave those ones out.
No. Oh, we could definitely. So
no, I just didn't know what the trigger was, because you seem to have gone this, and then like, was there this other life event? Because it's really insightful to hear. Like, we all have these moments, and I appreciate you sharing those.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they're hard to kind of revisit, but it provides clarity to a lot of people when you hear through other people. Because I know I have had certain moments in my life where I just looked at myself in the mirror and I said, yeah, this isn't it anymore. And I've had to make some wholesale changes because of that. And so that's why. So I'm wondering if, you were still headed down that whatever path you were on. Was there another event that then said, holy crap, like I need to be doing something else other than just, looking for the company? Because it's respectable. Like, a lot of companies are going to love someone like you that's looking out for the company. That's great. But it seemed like you went on to do other things as well.
Right. So once I'd gone from outside sales to inside, I became a little bit of a leader in that area. So, you're coaching, you're always helping, just a cheerleader, right? And just bring that smile. Because I know, I know I'm making people's day. Sometimes they come in there and they're just upset, and then it's time to go talk to that person just to lift them up. But I knew for me, I was like, this is not the end game. It was just a stepping stone, meaning that I knew adjustment had to be made, but I just didn't know specifically when and how. So, my wife was doing well. She's now like VP at her company. She's like killing it. And, my children, once they started getting older, I say, okay, now is the time to make a move, because if I can make a move, then I'll be okay. And then just as I started thinking about this, I'm just telling you, this random phone call just came to me, and I'm like, what is it that you want? They were just like, can you come work for our company? And I was just like, I don't know why you're calling me, because my resume is not out there. But even though I was like thinking about it, I think there was a part of me that was just so loyal to the company. I was like, I can't do this. So they just said, they kept calling me, and I said, you can call me next year. If you call me next year and you still need someone, we'll have a conversation. Literally January, I think it was like the first Monday, they called and said, we still want to talk to you. So I, as I spoke to my wife, because she's one of my mentors, she said, it's not going to hurt to talk to someone. You don't have to do anything, but you should at least listen to what they have to say. And when I went and I met with my now current boss, I was just blown away by what they wanted me to do. So, I got all excited. Okay, let me just sleep on it. And then when I woke up, I was like, I think this is what I need to do. And now what ended up happening is I left from distribution, and now I work for a tire manufacturer, right? So this manufacturer now, they're the ones who invented the winter tire. But the reason why I love it is they just said, you have one customer. All you do is take care of that customer, and nobody else.
Which is right in your wheelhouse, of taking care of people, right?
So you take care of people. I don't have to talk about price. I don't get calls that the guy next door is $5 or $10 cheaper. And so, I don't have to have those conversations. Isn't your service worth more than $5 or $10? Isn't my time worth more than $5, $10? This is a guy like me who's been in a shop, customer complaining for 50 cents on a tire, and I've literally thrown a toonie right at the customer. Here's the $2. Okay, can you buy it from here now? Because that's the society people are in. So that's why I value service. People like this group here, and service is very, very important to me, and that's why I want to stay in that kind of industry. So being with that kind of now that I have one customer, I'm responsible for making sure, I watch the inventory, make sure it's good. And then the most important part is the training. So I get to train the stores on the product. And then this year we had to make an adjustment where I actually had to do some online training. So, as you were saying earlier, people can get nervous being in front of the camera, and it's like, as long as I don't have to keep looking at it, we're fine, right? So
I didn't realize that you were a tire expert. I just bought winter tires for the Tesla. I should have spoken to you. I had no clue what I was doing. They just presented 3 options, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know, that one.
The middle one. Yeah. That's what I do. Okay, middle one sounds good.
If you went on the Tesla forum, they would have said, if you want the best winter tire, this is the brand.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah,
and it would even tell you where to go to get it.
You don't understand
Way
my
to go,
level of
Tom.
laziness. My level of laziness. I have this one company. Actually, they've been on the podcast. It's Mobile Tire.
Yes, I know.
And they've been great to me.
Yeah,
So I
they're
just said, whatever you guys suggest, because I needed new rims too. Because I had to change the size. Anyway,
Right.
but why did that person call you on the first Monday of January 4th? Why did they know your name?
Oh, because I kept turning them down. I didn't even want.
But why did they call you the first time? How did they get a hold of you?
That's a great question, because when I asked why, I was like, so how did you guys get my name? Because I didn't apply for this. And they just said, we were talking to a customer, and the customer said, we know a guy that would be amazing for your company. So as a customer,
why did that customer say that?
I don't know which customer it is. A customer referred and basically just said, if you're looking for a guy, this is the guy you want, because he takes care of customers. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, what you're talking about is so funny, because you treated somebody well. You treated them right. You brought a lot of energy and a lot of fun and laughter, and they felt that energy. They felt that you didn't screw them. And unbeknownst to you, behind your back, they were serving you because the way you served them.
Yep.
And I think so many people hit shortfalls in life because they're always trying to win the deal. They're always trying to win that 50 cents. They're always trying to get a better price from somebody. They're always trying to shop people around. They're always looking how they're getting screwed. What you do, you serve people, and it came back to serve you in a way that you could have never expected. And I think people think I'm bullshitting when I say that's the most important way I believe you should live life. Give more value than you take in, and then you'll have more value coming back to you than you ever know what to possibly do with. And I don't know why that's a difficult message for people to hear, but I find the majority of people, maybe not people listening to this particular podcast, because you're probably attracted to that kind of messaging, but most people in life don't get it. You do that naturally.
Yep.
Kudos to you, man.
Ties back. I fully agree 100% what you're saying, but it goes back to choice, right? I told you, Martin, who I mentioned earlier, and I love this guy, but he just, and he used to push and pound it into us that you just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You guys have also said it too. In previous podcasts you mentioned where sometimes something's gone wrong with a deal, and now the customer, so one of the members, thinks you guys are not real. You guys are just shooting a message, and it's, no, something's got to be wrong. And then when you guys get involved, it's, you get the job done, but you just want to make sure yourself that you guys are doing the right thing. And I know it's very sincere when you guys do it. And that resonates deep with people like myself. And it's not just me. It's a lot of people. Like, I listen to your guys' podcast, and I, not only am I laughing and enjoying myself, I'm like, these are just normal people. It doesn't matter.
I'm normal. Nick's not. There's one of us here that's normal, Chris. Okay, two of the three people.
Because me and you are very similar, so I know it's more him for sure.
I like that. Yeah, I think so too.
Nick's the normal
Chris,
one.
You just keep getting smarter and smarter in my books. Yeah.
I'm not here to play side. I love you guys both. I was waiting till later, but I brought this because this has sentimental value to me. And well, two reasons. Number one is just to let everyone know that I'm actually the only one who has a signed shirt. So it's very important to know.
I can't believe we did that. That's super cool.
I just asked you guys, and you were like, okay, all right.
The monetary value of that, we just went from $8 Canadian to a solid
$6.
maybe $8.50. I was going to give
it
us
might
50
be
cents
$6 because now it's marked
we
up.
lost $2. Yeah, that T-shirt went down in value.
Did it?
$2.
We'll give
But
you,
the
we'll give you a
sentimental
toonie.
value is sentimental. That's priceless, Nick. That's priceless.
It is. But it just remind me of two guys from whether your beginnings, because even before I joined, I would follow and get the different newsletters and such. But what was key specifically is it didn't matter how much bigger this got. It got bigger. The community is getting bigger. You guys are always available. You're always approachable. You always have time, whether it's someone who's part of the inner circle or VIP or just someone who has questions. Because when I first met you, you guys were literally like, any other questions, you guys we'll be out in the lobby. You guys will talk as long as it needs to be, right? And that's very key to me. Sometimes people grow, businesses grow, and it's not deliberate, but the business comes so big, they're not available. So you guys are just reachable, right? Outside when you're on your trip, but but I mean, like you guys are. I always have that feeling, and I know it's very true that if I ever needed to talk to one of you, I don't think I'd have any issues being able to.
Sure.
Have a sit down with you. Yeah,
thanks. That's a nice thing to say. So thank you.
It's important.
Mm-hmm. It's important. We used to know every single person's name here that is part of the membership as well. We've lost that a little bit, but the community is cool. Like to see you last night in that group. It's cool to see all of us because then you interacting with someone else, the impact that you're having. Nick and I don't even have to be around.
Yep.
And the community is helping each other out, so that's brilliant. Like I didn't even know how you got the private money. That just happened.
Right.
So that's super cool to hear.
It definitely is. I purposely always try to sit with someone I never met before. Just not only to hear their story, or sometimes they just might have questions or want to hear about me, but I deliberately sit with different people. Just how can I impact them? Whether I'm entertaining them or just having a few laughs. Yesterday I was sitting with Susan, and she has walking sticks. So she was just in the line, but I was already out there, and I was just like, "Do you want me to just grab your food for you?" She didn't ask me. She was just like, "Oh, that would be a miracle." So I helped her. We brought her food, went and got her a drink, and then even got her some desserts. But you just do it just because it's the right thing to do. I could have just stayed in line and then just went ahead and just watch her struggle. But why would you, right? So
but you're a proof and an example of that type of attitude. Kind of what goes around comes around, because you've seen it multiple times in your life where what Tom was saying. There's results that you've gotten because of it, and you're not even after those, but it's just and I truly believe that makes a difference, and you can't when you're doing that type of stuff, you can't see a return on investment, you can't quantify it, you just have to trust it sometimes. So if you're always looking for a return on everything you do, it just doesn't work out the same way, right?
100%. Yeah, there's not even. I would even say not even less than 100%. Literally 100%. If you're always just looking for the return, you're going to probably score one or two times, but you'll get damaged not only in the industry, just in life in general. Like you just won't be trusted. So that's why you just always do it. Like even in the community, I'm always, helping people on the street. I don't look for any recognition, but I literally, after the garbage truck comes, if I'm home, I bring everyone's bins back onto their driveway for no other reason besides I'm just right there anyways, right? So you're just always doing that stuff. I take lots of walks in the morning, and it's usually more in the winter. I'll put a lot of stuff in my pocket. So I purposely wear like bigger clothes. So when I see garbage, I pick it up and I just put it in my garbage in my pocket.
Yeah, who is this guy?
You are the nicest person.
These are just things that
can you be my neighbor?
I know. I just share for no other reason that nobody's heard this prior to right now this conversation. But I'm just saying, everyone just do a little bit. That's the only reason why I'm sharing what I do, because I don't tell people. I just do it.
You just reminded me of something I did when we were in Croatia on this beach that we go to. Yeah. And I remember thinking, there's like a little bit of garbage. It's a nice beach, but there was a little bit of garbage on the beach. And one year I got my nieces and my kids. Nick, I think your daughters were too young to do this. And we took a bunch of garbage bags.
I think we might have left. We left.
Oh,
you guys
and
did it after left.
And we crawled the beach early in the morning. I made them all get up bright and early when no one's on the beach. And we just picked up all the garbage on the beach. And I remember being under a table on my hands and knees, picking up butts, like cigarette butts. And the owner, Nick, that's Mario. You know Mario? Mario, and we kind of knew him, but didn't know that well. He's at the front of his cafe. I'm under his tables. These tables used to be on the rocks because he didn't even have the patio built. They were on the rock beach, and they were on the rocks, and I'm under his tables picking up garbage, putting them into garbage bags. And I remember he was just looking at me, and he didn't say anything. He just kind of looked at me, and I think it was almost like he had just seen like a wild animal or something. And just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, what's happening there? And I'll never forget lugging the garbage bags up. You know how steep the driveway is to get back up to the garbage area, and walking up, and I don't know, it just makes you feel good. It gives like me this weird sense of satisfaction. Like, we just did something that's kind of good. Like, I don't care, this is just the right thing to
contributing. I think anytime you contribute, you feel good. Like it's like there's almost like a sense of self-worth. You're like, hey, like I'm I'm contributing.
Yeah,
I'm making a difference here. You know,
it gives
matters.
you a better feeling about yourself. It's almost sometimes when I do those things selfish because I know I'm going to feel better.
You got to wonder if it is selfish sometimes. No, sometimes I wonder, like, people are like, oh, thanks so much. I'm like, you know, in some ways this is kind of helps me sometimes too. It's like I'm almost
sometimes
selfish.
I wonder if like you're manipulating the system of the world because I'm like, I know if I just give more value is going to come back to me. Am I being manipulative? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I know this is the way the system works, you know, like, and sometimes then I'm overthinking it. I'm like, wait a second, does this mean I'm working the system here?
Right.
But
the thing with that is because I think there's a lot of people that do that, and maybe they don't end up seeing the value. They don't feel like they see the value too, and I think you can't just give. And you have to be willing to receive as well. Or like your wife gave you that advice at one point. She said, it doesn't hurt to have the conversation, right? Because if you didn't have that conversation or you weren't open to receiving the value, then you wouldn't have received it and you wouldn't have got the kind of like the first full circle wouldn't have worked there. So there's that. And there's a lot of people that, you know, they're not able to receive very well because they're so giving. So
many people.
Yeah, they're so giving that they just won't open their arms when it's time for them to receive. It's got to go both ways.
That's why it's nice, I think, for a lot of people to own like rental property because you have a system in your life that's going to receive for you. So even if you're not naturally not a good receiver, you know, you're going to benefit from some of the things of owning real estate. But I don't know, Nick, which book it was, but I remember I wasn't a good receiver when it came to money, Chris, until I got into sales and I understood how money worked. And then I just kind of got very comfortable with it, where if somebody was going to give me money for any reason, I was just like, I would put my hand out and say, yeah, put it right there. That's fine. I was ready to accept the money at all times, whether it came to tenants giving us money for rental properties, a commission at a sales job. I just always felt like, yeah, I'm ready to receive that. So thank you. Put the money right there.
Right.
It never became a bother for me. But I meet so many people who are still kind of hesitant to that. Even when we work with investors who are going to get like rent money and they're like, oh no, like don't give me the money until like you're totally ready. I'm like, well, if you've decided they're going to be a great tenant and you're ready to accept them, if they give you, if the world or universe is putting money in your hands, you take the money.
Yeah. Right. You can always give it back.
Yeah, you can always give it back.
Give it
You're
back,
not taking it for wrong reasons. Right. But what you're saying, Chris, is this Zig Ziglar quote. I don't know if anyone knows Zig Ziglar anymore. That's how like old we are. But he's like a big sales trainer.
Oh yeah.
I know you probably know. But someone listening to this is we were mentioning something to someone the other day on the podcast, and they were like 20, and they had never heard of a TV show that was like 20 years old or something. But anyway, the quote goes, "You can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want." Yeah. And I just always that just sums it all up so beautifully, right?
Yeah. It's that's definitely a huge one, and just like how you brought that up is very important for, you know, I'm from operations and then I went into sales, and that's what learned that you can actually help and do more, not only for yourself, your family, and the world, for being in sales. So if you're not in sales, at least watch a video or read about sales, because there's a lot of life lessons and things that help you to learn how to help people. Because the first is, you know, you can donate your time. The second component is, you know, there's obviously monetary, but in sales, you can find ways to make money, and then you're able to help more people. I chose to make a change in where I work, and it's actually given me more free time. You know, I got to go to Finland, to Helsinki, the nation's capital. You know, I got to wear my your life, your terms t-shirt. And not only that, but, you know, I get to go wherever I want. You know, we went to Ireland in 2020 for like almost a month, from like May 2nd to like May 25th. And, you know, real estate obviously helped me with that. But the point is, I'm just making a change in my life because I'm in a position now where I'm in control. But the key thing is, just like we keep hearing that word choice, people just really need to think about it. You do actually have the choice.
Mm-hmm. What's that bracelet say that you're wearing?
Oh, my bracelet. Oh, yeah. I actually forgot about it. Very important.
Oh, there's two. What do they say?
There's a few that I have, but these ones are very important. So first we'll start with create it. So don't wait for the opportunity. Create it. Very, very important. And the second one is action is the foundation key to all success. Because a lot of people are set up, they do all the steps and everything's ready to go, but they just won't take the action. And I'm glad you asked, because there's people, not only in your lives but in mine, where since I've been on this road and this path, I'm like, come aboard. You know, you're trying to help them. And they're just, all the excuses, you know, the market, I'm just waiting for the market to go down, or, you know, I don't have enough. And I just said, you just keep making these choices that are actually hurting you. Mm-hmm. And this is why I wear it. And I will just constantly look to make sure that I know that I'm in control at all times. There's never a moment where I'm not in control of what I'm going to do.
It's funny, the last few guests we've had on, like Jatinder Gill was on here talking about properties, and we asked him what he was scared of next, because he acquired like a crap load of properties in a short period of time. And he's like, nothing. I'm like, well, you're not scared of anything? He's like, no, because I know whatever comes my way, I'm going to handle it. And then Dan Yarnovic, who's now part of the Rockstar team, was here with Mike. And we said, what are you scared of? And he's like, well, not really anything. And now, Chris, you're sitting here just talking about action. And it doesn't feel like you're scared of anything. Everything's a lesson in your life, no matter what it looks like to other people. And it's interesting. Once you make that mind shift, you just realize that like everything's an opportunity. Like everything's an opportunity.
Everything.
I feel, and it's not just this, right? So I'm going to bring it back to real estate for a second.
Yep.
But it's not just this, but I've always felt that in my life, becoming a real estate investor has made me a better person in other aspects of my life, because it made me far more resourceful than I would have been without it. Because all the problems
forced you to be resourceful.
Yeah, because of the problems that I had to encounter, I used to think they were big problems. Yeah. And now I look at those exact same things that I had to deal with, and I'm like, no big deal.
The shit hitting your arm was a pretty big problem. You don't remember it the way I remember that story because you've blocked it out. But you had shit against your arm. For anyone listening to this, it was a sewer backup, shit flowing to a new furnace. Nick wanted to save the new furnace. You dove with your arm and stopped the shit flow. And the plumber looked at me and he said, I've been in this business a long time and I've never seen that before.
You know what? I think we might actually have to this story might have to be updated now that we know what we know about that drain, that there was actually nothing connected to it. It might just be leftover shit from the ground.
No. That drain went to that toilet.
Oh, it didn't go somehow.
It didn't go down. All right.
Yeah. So
I don't want to be a witness to this. Now you just made me a witness. So now people are going to be asking me.
But Chris, I also wanted to say, with what you were saying when you were talking about your braces and stuff, I was just looking at you. I'm like, man, sharing what you share can really have a big impact on a lot of people. There's there's a lot of people, there's people that are going to listen to this and it's going to have an impact. But I was just thinking about different environments, and I'm like, man, at the right age, like in a group of kids, like, I don't know if it's like a certain age in high school, you meet someone like him that's like, hey man, look, here's kind of what I went through. Here's how I just think that type of journey hits home, and hopefully your kids, as you share this stuff with them, they are able to learn from it and stuff as well. Cause there's so many lessons in the different stages that you shared, like so many flipping lessons. Right. And
from calling 911 about anxiety to where he is now.
Yeah. And to coming out on the other side and just kind of the way you kind of operate, like you must either you have a strong mind now, or you've always had a strong mind, but to instill all those belief systems in your mind and to live like that, it's not always easy, because in our day to day, there's so many opportunities to get dragged down by the negative side of stuff, but you seem to avoid those.
Right. A lot of that's more in the later years, because sometimes you can be a pessimist, but when you're pessimistic, it's your route you'll start to fall like very fast. So you have to start changing your mindset. But one of the very key things, I don't care if it's part of the Rockstar team, just become part of a group of positive people, whether it's real estate mastermind or just a group, like whether it's a golf group or some sport, go join a beer league, like. Just do something with people so that you'll always have that positive attitude. And if people are negative, you have to leave that group and go somewhere else. Like my wife will push at me and say, if you don't like it, then you have to make the change. Yeah. Don't complain, right? You have to make the adjustment.
Well, one of my biggest moments in my life was when I realized, so I made some changes, to my peer group because I felt like I had to at that moment. And I wasn't sure that it would actually make a difference. And I wasn't even doing it to make a difference, but I just there was something saying like I just kind of had to spend more time a little bit elsewhere, not with a long-term peer group that I had. Right. And, looking back, it didn't take long to look back until I just realized that there's a lot of little aspects of my life. It wasn't like these grand changes, but there's a lot of little things that started turning around. And I was like, oh, that's not happening to me anymore. I don't feel like this anymore. And so to your point, it's really valuable. And sometimes it's hard to see when you're in the middle of it, you know?
Right.
So I think it's also really cool the way you called your wife. You said your wife's like one of your mentors.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's really, really cool. And that shows a lot of respect to Jeff for. That's really cool. I don't know if I've ever said that about my wife, so I'm not going to hope she doesn't hear that.
I thought when you were first talking, you were going to say, I finally realized that my wife was in charge. I thought that's what you were going to say. Now about changing your peer groups. I totally thought that he was about to say that.
No, I still live in my fantasy land that I'm in charge.
Okay,
That's, I willfully am blind to that fact.
She is very patient.
She's actually sitting right behind us right now, so she doesn't know that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So she comes into the office a few hours a week.
Chris just looked back
I
and
know.
thought he's got scared.
I know.
Like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, she's peering in the window, wondering
She's
what
just
the
working back there. She's not staring at the back of his head or something. Oh, geez.
So I guess I should, I can summarize and just talk about my portfolio, because I guess, you know what I mean? I talk the talk, but do I walk the walk? But not for any other reason. Just, we have two in Brampton. So two, and one is like a duplex with an upper and lower. And then we have property in Welland. And then we have a condo in Bowmanville that I'd mentioned. And then we're looking at a place in Costa Rica, but we might not do it. There's second thoughts, because my wife's thinking, no, I want to see other parts of the world and not commit. But the reason why it even came up was, what do we want to do once we start slowing down? So it's, we want to just have a place somewhere warm. So at least we can go there for a few months whenever we want to get out. But, now it's getting pulled back a little bit. So, but, we'll see where it goes. But the point is, I am going to be looking at having a place somewhere else. It's very important, especially Canadian weathers can get very...
so many people in the Rockstar group. I mean, Christian was at the meeting yesterday, and he has his residency in Panama. So many Rockstar members are starting to get properties around the world. We should just build a big network that you can kind of couch hop around the world.
We're often a part of the trip I'm taking with the family, but it's a little bit of a scouting mission as well, looking at some properties where we're headed as well, so to see... just to see what options might be available. You never know.
And the curiosity keeps going for you, because I know you're kind of into some Bitcoin stuff. You're doing some stock trading stuff. So it hasn't stopped for you.
No. But I guess because of, I have to give the credit to the real estate. It gives you the flexibility to at least have the conversation or to even look into some of the stuff. So literally, I'm not going to lie, I'm just like, if they keep talking about this Bitcoin, I got to look into it. So I literally got a BitBuy wallet.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. This was like last year. I have to do some more research because I'm not fully
everybody
educated.
Listening, do your research.
Yeah, you have to make sure you do your research. And this is just, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just telling you my story. All right, does that protect me from lawsuits?
Now you sound like me.
I just have to make sure, right? So this is not Rockstar
I'm the one going out on the limb saying you should really check this Bitcoin thing out.
Check this out.
None of the views expressed here are representative of this podcast or anything else.
This is not financial advice.
Yes, exactly. It's not because Tom told me to off the record.
Oh, shit.
But what I did specifically was I just said, just get a small amount that's not going to hurt. So literally $500. Put it in the BitBuy, and then see what happens as I'm doing my research, right? Because it's not just here, but I'm hearing other, areas, and when people are mentioning, it's important to at least take a look into it. So it's between that, and I was actually very happy yesterday when he mentioned the GBTC, the ETF. Because I do have it. Yeah, cool. And then I went and I checked live and I was like, yep, it's going up. So it's like, I'm still doing my research.
You feel so smart when the price is going up. When the price is going down, you just feel like, oh my God,
now,
what is this?
Yes. So
it's why I love real estate so much, because it's not liquid. Because many times you can look at a property and say, I hate that property. I hate that property. Yeah. Why is this property making me do this? But then you can't sell it with a push of a button. So you stick with it. And 10 years later, you're like, I'm so smart for keeping that property. But you've wanted to sell it like 15 times over 10 years. You know what I mean?
And it's funny how you say, because I had one property and it's like done really well, but you kept getting called because the tenants are fighting. And I'm getting calls all the time, like nonstop. And then they're just, it's just, but another time I'll give you the specifics. But the point is, I got to the point where I said, I had enough, I'm getting rid of it. And my wife's like, no, you're not.
Oh, no.
And she was, yeah. But that's the same person who's like, oh, you're always gone, or you got to go there and deal with an issue. Yeah. I don't know why you still have it. But as soon as I, hit my brink and I said, I'm done. She's like,
slow down here.
Slow down there, bucko. And right?
Maybe it's time for a property manager at some point on one of these properties.
Yes.
It'll eat into some cash flow, but it might.
Yeah. So the Welland has property.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So
Good.
I think it's Orange.
Orange List. Probably.
Yeah. So Orange List does that one for us, and it's because I didn't want to drive back and forth. But during the Burr, I made sure to drive just to be part of the process, right? Yeah. And make sure, I've heard the horror stories where I don't know what happened. And I was like, what happened is you never went there, right? Right? So if you can't be there.
Call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
If you can't be there or have eyes that you trust, like family to go there, then you can't do it. That's why the U.S., that's the only reason I never jumped on any opportunities in the U.S. is because I can't.
Need the team.
If you're not part of the team. So the team is very important, obviously. I want to give shout outs to both Kelly Hawks and Andy Tran. So just when we say sometimes, you and I spoke about this just before we started. Sometimes people will say something to you and it just changes your life. So I'm sweating. I'm starting to lose sleep. It's the first time over a property because people are fighting and I don't know what to do. And I'm trying everything. I have to go to the tenant board. So now I'm sweating, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to mess around with the judicial system at all because I'm like a law-abiding citizen. So, I called up Kelly and then Kelly's just like, you got this. And I was like, what do you mean I got this? I'm so scared. So she literally just met with me at a Starbucks and, just literally just read my story and said, this is awful. But she goes, don't worry, they can't do anything to you. Just go there. You're just going to follow the rules. And she just kind of coached me through it.
Awesome.
And she did this on her own time.
She's great.
Didn't charge a dime. And this is why you got to give a shout out because, some people, will just charge you just for their time. But she knew what I was going through. She just helps people, right? Mr. Andy, I got a, what do they call it? From the city because it was a grandfathered in property.
Oh, so you got some kind of notice?
Yeah, notice telling they want to come and check, right? So I started, stressing about that. And he just said, you know what? Because I was kind of dodging them at first because I didn't know what to do. And literally I went to a meeting and I was just sitting and I just said, oh, shoot, I'm right beside Andy. And I literally just, hey, how you doing, Andy? I go, I have this situation in Brampton. And he just said, yeah, he goes, just be in communication. They're going to tell you exactly what they want. And just do it. He goes, it's that simple. And I go, yeah, but I'm nervous. They might come with all these outrageous. He goes, nothing's really outrageous. They'll just give you a list of things that need to be done. The reason they're even there is because obviously someone's complained, most likely because of the noise. The street probably just got fed up. But he goes, just have the conversation with them, and it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When I hear that, like when I hear stuff like just that it happened, these conversations that are happening at different events, like the VIP event or something, it's so cool.
That's
like it's
cool.
Something that I don't know. There was no plans for that or anything.
Yeah,
like
it just
started happening, and it's really cool. Like I appreciate you sharing that. It's so cool.
So let's call it. So Kelly Hawks is KH Paralegal. If you just Google up Kelly Hawks, she's a paralegal who understands the tenant board inside and out and backwards.
And she's been on she's been on the podcast a couple of times.
Yeah.
Same with Andy too. So you can look them up.
His company is called Sweet Additions. So if you Google up Andy Tran, Sweet Additions, Sweet being SUITE, you can find Andy Tran. So yeah, good guy, good people for sure.
Great, everyone. And that's why when you're ever at a meeting, I just encourage people. I know we have our little cliques or groups that we spend a lot of time with, but sometimes just sit with somebody else. You'll just be amazed at what happens. I've made so many new friends and contacts and just people that I don't need anything from them. They don't need anything from me. Hey, if you're just free, let's go for a coffee. Let's just talk and just talk about life. The
value of building your network, again, because it's not something that a lot of people need immediate returns. Mm-hmm. And because they don't see immediate returns, they maybe don't place the proper value on building your network. But when you're in a situation and you have a couple phone calls or you're someplace you can have a quick conversation with someone, it's just, it really changes things. And I think it's what can make you so confident about stuff as well. When you said people were coming on and like Jatinder and yourself, you're like, well, I don't know, I just feel like I can handle it. Because when you have people around you that you think you can reach out to when you need something, it gives you an added level of confidence about that stuff, right? Which is so cool.
And don't forget to shout out Andrew, obviously, my coach.
Leave him out of it.
I don't use him very often, but I just have to give him love, because whenever I call him, he does answer. And, he'll just give you just options. He'll just say, you can either do this, this, and this. I'm in Brampton, so I can tell you this happened with me in Brampton. And he goes, but again, he's used that word. He goes, it's your choice. You just figure out what you want to do. Yeah. And it just makes it so relaxing. I'm empowered. I'm actually not afraid of anything. So since I came here, I've acquired with a joint venture with another, that's the one in Welland. It was a joint venture with another member. I was able to dabble with the Amazon. So I've also done some Amazon, but
cool.
I just don't want to get too deep. But, mostly the retail arbitrage, which is just reselling. I never got a chance to pick another, to design my own product. But that's a phenomenal group that I still, every time I see them, I say hi, whether it's Greg, Brian, or, everyone else who's in the group. And then, the stock options, just dabbling in there with some options, and then just playing and seeing, you know what I mean? Where it's not life-changing or
you're just learning.
You're just learning.
See what pulls you in.
Exactly. See what pulls you in. And with, and almost, I'm going to call it like risk-free, because if it all disappeared, I would not, you know what I mean? It's not like mortgage is not getting paid. So it gives me that freedom. And then obviously now I'm dabbling with the Bitcoin specifically. But I'm still doing the research, but I'm not waiting to have all the information. Put a little money in there and then do some research with some of these powerful books and using the tube, as I like to call it, right?
Awesome. Chris, that's great. Greg and Brian were actually doing a class. They were one of our first in-person classes again here at Rockstar recently. And we didn't really advertise them too much with everything going on in the world, even to the members, but we opened it up.
Yep.
And they had like 4 people attend that class.
Yep.
And these 2 people could probably charge $50,000 a day for consulting to other Amazon businesses. Yep. And I wonder, do those 4 Rockstar members that came to that class know the value that they just got from listening to those 2 people talk about how to build Amazon businesses?
Yep.
So huge stuff. Chris, I mean, thank you for sharing all this stuff and giving props to all these people. That obviously is your style. You came in with a plan to do that, and just sharing your story, man. Really, thank you so much. We really appreciate this. There was no need for you to do this. You didn't have to come in and share this stuff. So we thank you a lot. And we don't really know how to pay it back. But I know we have an $8 T-shirt at the front that we can give you as a small token of our appreciation for you doing this. So thanks, man. Really, thank you.
I appreciate both of you. Like, you guys are very important to the community. And a lot of us would never have crossed paths if it wasn't for just what you guys have built. So that's why my return is things like this, by just coming back and just seeing my story.
Cool. Very cool. Thanks, man. Thank you. Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.